Well, welcome everyone to the, what day? July 7th, 2026 meeting of the Growth Planning Committee. And we'll start off as always with our introduction of members.
Liz Johnson.
Tom Vanderschaff.
Jane Evelyn.
Dan Saunders.
Anne Marie Martin.
Mary Beth Gilbert, Select Board Rep.
Galen Webley, support staff.
Nadia Crockett, current support staff.
All right. And no one out in the field here to introduce themselves, so we'll proceed with our agenda items. And the first is on the approval of minutes from May 5th, June 2nd, and June 16th, 2026. We can do it one by one or all.
I'll motion for all of them.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on them? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Lynn, for preparing the minutes for us. All right. Well, election of officers. Yes, every year we have to, after our first meeting after the
Budget.
Yeah,
Or,
budget, but
val-
it's actually the second
Town.
meeting, 'cause the first one
Yeah.
was combined. But we have to elect our chair, vice chair, and I'd say we still do the secretary, even though we have Lynn supporting us in that spot. So, do we have any nominations for chair?
I nominate
Yeah.
Dan Saunders for chair.
Okay.
Second. Yes.
All right. I hear a second.
Second, yep.
Any discussion? Any other nominations? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you. Vice chair? Any nominations for vice chair? Paul? Paul's that? Yeah.
I nominate Paul.
Yeah. Okay,
I'll second that.
second that. All right, any other nominations? All right, all in favor of Paul?
Aye.
Aye.
And then secretary, we had Liz, current member. I would nominate Liz for secretary.
So even if I'm not doing anything?
Yeah, I think it'd just be important. It's good to have three of us that, especially with our travel, that sometimes you've had to fill in as the chair, so
Right,
it's
Okay.
good to do that, okay?
So moved.
Yeah? Second?
Second. Oh.
Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the board passes as original. All right, thank you. And now to the fun stuff. GIS layers showing floodplain, historic districts, and projected sea level rise. Not protected, projected.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen.
It's a long ways away.
Secretary again.
So we'll see what it looks like. So this is our town GIS layers, and I will go over this in detail, and you can certainly ask me to go to a certain area of the community. So you'll see the growth area is in green. The pink is your transition, and your blue is going to be your rural area of town. Obviously, we're going to be focusing more in the water resources where you want to see the sea level rise and other, the floodplain as well. The yellow indicates where there's sewer, so it gives you a rough idea of where the sewer line runs in town. If there's a certain area that you want to take a look at.
Wait, say that again, the yellow indicates sewer?
Yellow indicates sewer, runs through that area. Again, it's not 100% perfect, but it will get you an idea of like where the sewer line is running in a road or near a parcel.
Yeah, me too. So
Sorry?
there's school. Okay, so we got it.
There's School Street right here, Wells District's right here.
So Old Cape Road, there's like a little piece over there. I don't understand why the sewer isn't all the way up School Street to Old Cape Road, or why is it separated?
Again, it could be running up through here.
Well, there's a development where that whole yellow section is, that's a whole development back there. That's where all the townhomes are, back in there.
Is that Foxbury? Is that what that is?
Grove.
Yeah.
I think where some of the confusion maybe is coming is the yellow is highlighting the lots that are actually connected to sewer, so we can assume that the lots in between are also that there's sewer in the street, but that those lots maybe didn't connect
Right.
before,
They
like
might
when
have
it
been on
was run
septic
out.
systems way before, and they weren't required to hook up, but this is just a status, it's something that the assessor put in there, that if they have a sewer bill, this is indicating by yellow. So just use it as a guide of roughly where the sewer line is running, it's not an absolute.
Yep.
It's just giving you as a tool, because of the whole density discussions that you're having, where there's possibly sewer and where you can see additional dwellings moving forward.
And this is village parcel.
Yes, that's the village parcel.
And can you just help me for like a lot like here? So this is, currently this is like, you would call this one landlocked?
I'll tell you what that is. That is, because I am on that street, that's Bailey Court, and that sort of L-shaped thing behind those little individual lots is communally owned by the residents of Bailey Court, so that it can never be built on.
Okay, but just for an example, I'll pick this block here then.
Okay.
So this block here then, let's just say that it's private property and it can be developed. They're landlocked and if the sewer's out to here for development purposes in a growth area,
Yeah.
how does that actually work, Galen? Do they have sewer right-of-ways? Because I know when people were developing up behind us, they had to ask permission.
Correct.
Basically, everybody said no.
You have to have a right-of-way to access the sewer, because the sewer department's gonna need that right-of-way to maintain wherever that line is going.
So if they don't have a right-of-way,
Right. They need to have sewer access and water access to get the bonus.
okay, but when we did the growth area,
It's within 1,000 feet of,
but we
Yes, sir.
didn't do things like for that specific, I guess what I'm getting at, what I should get it right, for that specific area that we would say is sort of landlocked, if we didn't look at the deeds and see that they had a right-of-way, that could be an area where you can't, if you don't get permission from the people to get a right-of-way, if it's not already incorporated in the deed, that could just be blocked out from sewer, right? Is that a true scenario?
I guess I need you to rephrase the question, because I don't understand.
So for example, part of the growth area is that, part of being in a growth area means that you have reasonable access and you can get access to sewer. But if I look at that map, there are some properties like the one I pointed to, assuming it's a private property, and they don't have deeded access for a right-of-way to the road, to grab that sewer line. But we have it as a growth area for development. So we're making an assumption, that they could get it, but there's some areas that could be in our growth map that can't actually get sewer.
Right,
Sure.
Okay, and then they wouldn't be
getting the,
growth,
yeah.
Right.
Well, they're still in the growth area, but they're not gonna get the density.
because they can't get to the sewer.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So I want to explain the rest of the legends so you can understand it a little bit better, and it might be easier if I zoom into one of the areas where there's a little bit of a break in the coastal area. So this is down at Marshall Point, right here. So what you'll see here is there's a few layers. One you'll see in the underlying area is a greenish teal color. So that is the 1.5 foot sea level rise that is projected to be in 2050. The orange dots, which you'll see the orange dots go a little bit more in, they creep in a little bit more. That's the 3.9 foot sea level rise by 2100. So that's the difference of those two. The hash marks that you see are the 100-year floodplain that's currently in existence right now. Yeah, there's hash marks. I can.
So I don't see the teal color.
So
The
the
teal-
teal color is the background.
Yes, it's the background of where the orange dots are. You'll see that there's this
These
teal.
are called the orange dots.
Yeah, the orange dots are the three.
And where's the hash marks?
The hash marks is right there. It's like a hash. It's all through.
Oh,
Yeah,
these are
yes.
the lines.
That's the 100-year
Okay.
floodplain. Yep.
Okay.
So we got 3 different levels on this map.
Yes. I could toggle them off if there's certain ones you want to see, but
So can we
this is
start,
all of them
start
are.
at the lowest level first and then build up
What lowest level do you want to go?
Like the 1.5 or whatever.
Well, the flood,
the flood?
100-year flood, I guess.
Yeah.
So this is your floodplain.
It's something.
Well,
Where'd it go?
come back. I think I might be right.
Everything will be gone.
Well, this takes a lot of computing. Okay. So there's your 100-year floodplain.
So all the pink, or what am I looking at?
The hash marks.
Okay, so that's,
So anything that's in the hash marks is in the floodplain.
okay, that's not, and we call that the 100-year floodplain?
Yep.
So that's all of Skipper Joe's point.
And the sea rise level of that?
That means you got a
versus
1%
meters?
chance of a flood in
Yes.
this event every year,
Every year.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's the 100,
a
okay.
100-year flood.
Did we reach that in those storms 3 years
You,
ago?
you were probably at a 500-year flood event, which is a more rare event, but it's a lot more water. So there was, this was just the 100-year. So this, the 500 was probably more expansive than that. And I'm sure you know from your own knowledge areas, like there was probably some certain areas that were getting water that
Aren't there?
are outside of this hatch mark area, and that's to be expected.
Okay, so that's the 100.
Yep. And if there's a certain area of town you want to go to, I can look
Yeah,
there.
when
but-
we go to where
The growth area.
well, yeah, anywhere that's a growth area, so maybe down to
Yeah.
Dock Square.
Can we look at the growth area in total, or
That's
is
the
that
Yep.
too big?
Everything in green, right?
Anything in green is your growth area.
I think if we can look at the growth area and see if any of it gets accumulated or if it's submerged at any point.
Including Dock Square.
So Dock Square is right here. Most of it's in the floodplain. There's
So-
North Street. There's Temple.
So the yellow,
Is
okay,
sewer.
that just means that
This is-
I got the sewer. Can we turn the sewer off? Because we sort of know the growth areas in sewer access, right, for this view?
I just have to change the,
If it's okay, if not, just leave it, it's okay. If it's gonna screw stuff up.
What's the brighter green?
That's the growth.
I think that's what we have. Cemeteries.
yeah, I have different other layers on here.
And Galen, none of this is accessible on the website, correct? Okay.
You have, public has access to the growth areas. Utility lines, you can see where that's run. So yeah, most of that information's online. It's just the sea
And the
level
100-year
rise, I
floodplain.
didn't add that layer, that's a new
Okay,
one.
I'm just making sure I didn't miss
Yes.
it there. I was
Yeah.
playing with it this afternoon.
Flood zones on there, on the layer already, you can check out.
But there are non-town websites that have
Yes,
that information, right?
yeah, they have that
No,
information.
yeah.
You can go on Maine Geological Survey to
Yeah.
get that. But I know you all wanted to see it
Yeah.
combined, so
Overlaying,
This is-
yeah.
this is our GIS where we work from to,
This is what we want to see.
Okay, where's,
So we don't have the flood.
We don't have the flood on
Can you just
That's
orientate
where,
me to North Street Station and Village Parcel?
you want to go to Village Parcel?
Well, we don't have to, I just, from the wider view, just where.
So right here's the Village Parcels up here.
Okay, and this has the flood.
there. It's got the 100-year flood.
This is the 100-year floodplain that we're in right now.
All right, so then we in Dock Square, we are,
Right here.
we're over, this is Ocean Ave,
Yep,
here,
yep.
or that one?
This is Ocean Ave. This is the river.
Okay, that's a river.
Yeah.
Okay, so we lose part of Ocean, well, is Ocean gone up in, is,
Most of it.
Again, this is during a 100-year flooding event.
okay.
We're not talking about, this is underwater all the time, it's only during those rain
Okay,
events.
so this is a rain event.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a storm surge event, basically. And North Street Station
North Street.
North Street, right here,
and Fire Station, whereabouts?
up here, it's a little bit up north.
Okay.
So again, the brighter green, those aren't all cemeteries.
That's 100, that is, that's part of the floodplain that's interior, it's not impacted by tides. It's just shallow flooding events that happen. There might be a stream or something.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it's internal flooding during the 100-year event?
Right.
Okay. So-
There's a station right there.
So there's a station
That's where
right
we are
here.
right now. We're
Where
staying.
do you see? Oh, okay.
I-
Right. Then you see the start of the village where,
Right, so there's no flooding at the fire station, correct?
no,
No.
right.
Okay, so
Just
then
the
you
road.
add 1.5
You want the 1.5 on?
on top of
I
that.
had what do you mean, 1.5?
This is 100 years, so this is with the 1.5 foot sea level rise, the impact,
Oh, I see.
which they expect by 2050.
No, this was the event, the surge.
Yeah, with the event, with the sea level rise.
So this is your sea level rise.
Okay, so where's North Street now?
It's the same spot.
Same spot.
And where's that square there?
All right, so in the sea level rise,
The street's cut off.
Sorry, is this cumulative with the storms or just with 1.5 feet rise?
So it's gonna just raise that's gonna be static sea level rise. So this is where it'll just stay.
so if I look at the static sea level rise, am I looking at this right? Dock Square is still above? You're not-
It's below.
You can't really see the streets.
All right. We can only see bits and pieces of Ocean Ave.
Right.
What do you mean? I can see the streets. There's no,
Well, but I think they're covered up by the white
Correct.
and the hash marks. So that
So like,
shows how wide the river is, but it doesn't show what streets were underneath it.
yeah, go back to it.
I'm trying, it's loading, it's,
So like Ocean Ave,
you know what you need? You know when you used to have encyclopedias and then they would have like the skeleton?
Yes.
And then you would add, and you could see
Yeah.
I mean, the real
Transparencies.
the veins get added on.
So here's Ocean Ave.
There's Ocean Ave.
Wait,
There's Ocean Ave right there, see?
so here's Ocean Ave normally, right?
Yeah. Well, that's with
Right.
everything right now.
Yeah.
So parts of it's flooded all the time.
right.
And then it disappears
Parts of it's okay.
under there.
But
And
all
if he
of
makes it even more expanded,
All of Dock
see
Square
more.
is underwater.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, I see a little bit of green there.
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's hard to see what's still on the
Yeah, we should get those.
But this is all,
Let me turn off the growth.
You know what it is that we need it, like, we do need that encyclopedia thing where it's a transparency. and then
The
the line gets-
transparency, if we could get
the
one of
line
those
gets elevated.
transparency machines.
well, I think it gives the overall picture of what that impact is.
I'm not seeing it, I can see it.
Well, the problem is you can't really see what the water
Covering.
is over.
Right.
Yeah,
Come on.
so one way to do it would just be to draw the line instead of making it solid, you say, here's the line, and then off. Like, for example, if we just had the line here, this is the 100-year, this is part of this 1.5, and then this line says all these are under. Just visually, so you can sort of get it better.
So Dock Square here.
Yep.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, all of that is gone.
Oh my God.
So
Wow.
Cross Street, so then we go right up to, our bus is underwater now. Bus parking, number 3 is underwater. Oh, there's no shops off, so.
But you can see how it's encroaching around on School Street too.
And
So
this
is
is
the office?
2050 prediction.
And,
2050
and
is the teal.
2100.
2050 is the teal, And then you see the 2100 is the orange. The orange goes up, it's encroaching more and more.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, 2050 is your, Back here.
2050 is 1.5 feet,
that's 1.5 feet.
3.9 for 100.
Yes.
So
And that is
That's
their
not that long.
moderate predictions.
That's
It's
the
not their high
moderate
level.
prediction,
This
right.
is just,
That's the one that,
this is their
Right, like
conservative
medium,
estimate, yes.
right,
But if I'm,
not worst case.
but
It
if
could be
I'm
worse,
looking at
but-
this, we're not eating into the bulk of the growth area. Is that a correct conclusion?
Say it again.
If I'm understanding this, we're not really eating into the bulk. There's not a huge overlay over the bulk of the growth area. We're hitting our coastal fringe.
Yes.
We're hitting our dock square, but the like this area, none of this, all this residential thing is
Fine.
fine. Which
Right.
was, this is where there would be the 4-to-1 type stuff happening, right?
good.
And so that's all above board. We just gotta find another way to get, well, you can't get to 91.
Make it larger bridge.
Can we zoom out so that we can just see like how it comes up around, North Street again, or doesn't? Please?
How far on North Street do you want to go?
A little more.
Just sort of see, like, because like Beechwood, where there's that big,
So that whole where the river is, like the golf course?
So there's north.
what's that?
So that's School Street.
That's-
What,
that's
North
Range.
Street?
Oaks right here, North's here, Meserve Lane, Westmore.
So Oak is still, West Street,
Westmore?
no,
West.
West Street.
Oh, that's,
That's right.
It's one of the ones off of Oak Street.
Here's West, here.
Yeah,
right here.
Okay, Oak is still above, basically, maybe it has to turn. And this is interesting.
Cross Road and North Street.
It's just north.
No,
Yeah,
the Richmond, okay.
that's where the gristmill is.
and village parcel, where it comes out on School Street.
It's like way out.
It's up here, it's up further.
So we do lose a little bit of houses in here.
Yeah, let's become a peninsula.
Yeah.
Right here is the village parcel.
And it looks like you can see where the, here,
That's the cemetery.
potentially, it's hard to tell when you potentially cross some up. North Street there
Is the
too.
cemetery flooded? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
This was village.
I think that's, no, it's just after the cemetery. The cemetery is right below.
Okay, so
That's where
like,
there's that dip in
Cemetery's
North
right
Street.
in here, right?
that's like the golf course, because the cemetery,
This is the,
Well, that's the golf course.
It's the
This is
inlet
golf
that
course.
runs along the golf course.
is that River Road? Here?
No,
River Road's
no,
up.
it's further up.
This is,
but the cemetery borders on the golf course.
Right, it's right there. Right where there's,
Right
that's the
there.
cemetery. That's just after the cemetery. You go down the hill a little bit.
Okay.
There's-
So, I mean, the crux of it is right on the coastal thing, but this is our growth area, and of course, besides this nuance here, and on the edges of the coast of the things we're looking pretty good, right?
Well, I mean, I think we may or may not cross North Street there in this location on the 100-year. So it gets a little bit of orange into the
Well,
village parcel.
you could raise road, like in 100 years.
Yeah. And it could be more.
timing what the green would be in this?
Yeah, that's
Really wet,
that's a floodplain that's interior.
really wet.
So it's not, yeah, it's not impacted by tidal or
Okay,
riverine.
and it's currently
That's-
considered really wet?
Yep.
So,
And this doesn't include any wetlands, I didn't put any layers on for that. So that already is in our requirement that you have to have 40,000 square feet of upland. So you can't, your lot might be 40,000 square feet, but if you don't have enough, if you have like a lot of wetlands on there, you couldn't technically add additional density to that either.
so like the village parcel, it's 80 something, 86 acres, but it's only like 41 developable.
Oh, okay.
Can you also do the transparency of the historic district on
Yep.
this, or?
I had that,
So this is actually better than I thought. I thought it would have creeped up more into the back streets.
Yeah, I think this is the values that the state's using in one of their state laws associated with their own departments, like Department of Transportation and so forth, for their consideration when looking out at
I'm
projects,
just not happy.
the 1.5 and the 3.9.
Is this also something they're taking into consideration with regards to the increased density of the lots?
Rep Beer said at our last joint meeting that, with you guys, that they're looking at that for the next version, and putting that language in. But it's not
It's not there yet.
No.
So there's your historic district
Sort of
for the village.
What,
So
where,
how do we
what?
see
It's
what-
the orange hash mark,
Oh,
this,
Can I see?
oh my gosh,
Maybe
okay.
I
so it goes the whole way up on North Street.
And it's just orange hash mark
can-
red?
Orange tinge.
Okay.
That's just the historic district,
Oh, okay.
It's,
So it's
Yeah.
a district,
so it's
okay.
Okay.
yeah. It goes down to your village.
And then when you have the orange,
those are the floods.
Can you show the dock square area with the historic?
Yep.
amazing.
And there's probably a lot of
It's gonna be like
things
the
going
whole,
on there.
everything out to School Street and then down to.
Yeah. So there it is. So that's your historic district. It does not include your commercial area.
It does include the commercial.
It does not.
It does
Oh,
not.
it does not,
No.
but it could,
But that's all in the flood area.
No, that's what's registered.
right.
Registered, but with no,
No.
Teeth.
Yeah.
Teeth.
right,
Currently.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I think this is, besides Dock Square and it's everything facing the ocean, the harbor, my takeaway, if it's correct, is that the vast majority of our growth area outside of the water coming across the north into that zone in there is good. Like
And the green, is that
that's
the
just.
That's
current
floodplain.
state of,
Yeah.
of the marshy area? Now, if we were having a large rainfall and that sort of thing, that would also expand. We're talking about storms.
So there's flooding that occurs in those areas. That's part of your FEMA flood maps. It is part of the 100-year, but it's not, it's an interior. It's not,
So what difference does that make? It's still water.
it's just, yeah,
but it
it's,
expands. So
it's
these are gonna
more,
be
it's
larger?
just wet in that area.
No, this is showing it being
So
larger.
it's not
It does show it
buildable.
being larger.
Yeah.
This is
We
part of
reduced
it.
that from our calculations, from net residential area calculations.
So Dan, when I said that conclusion, you didn't seem to, what was that, what of that statement isn't making, is not right?
Well, I mean, it's certainly, I mean, the whole growth area is all of the southeastern part of Kennebunkport,
Right.
right? So it includes Dock Square and all the rest, which we didn't pull out because we felt we weren't gonna be, we weren't gonna be able to put 4 homes on a lot back when we had that discussion.
Right.
So now, I mean, we could protect some of that with the historic district, we can protect, assuming the state moves towards accepting the 1.5 and the 3.9 as areas that we can carve out, right? And at the 100-year flood, I think, is an area we can carve out.
Yep.
That's existing?
Yeah, the 100-year we can,
100 years is existing, the 1.5 and the 3.9 is
that's the
possible.
proposed, that's what the state's working, and we're working in tandem to,
That still leaves an awful lot of area.
And now,
That-
there was a thing that I sent out, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it had to do with density of population and the resultant effect on our rivers and streams, pollution resulting from density. So if we're having more, water, and we're having more density, we could be having, more polluted water.
And more runoff, and just.
That's acceptable to the state. So, according to the,
Solving one
according
problem
to the LD
creates
stuff,
10 others.
maybe not to other laws and regulations, but.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like
So,
this is solving one problem to create 10 others.
okay, so on this one, we had, you guys in the committee had talked about, we had talked about potentially opening up the comp plan to reduce the growth area from the flood zones, right? So we say that we're already, what you just said, Dan, is that
Yeah.
we're already, our growth area is already exempt from the 100-year flood.
Right.
And that the 1.5 and, what's the other number?
3.9.
3.9, that those are being considered, so one course of action is to wait for the state to see if they do that and not open our comp plan, or open our comp plan and include it prior to the state.
Well, if the state's gonna do it, then I wouldn't open the comp plan to do that. But it sounds like they're interested, right? So, which makes real sense, right? Because that's what they have in their own state law, right? So, I don't know how they could not support that. The other aspect is that leaves behind, and are there areas that we would want protection on, that currently we will not have, the way our growth map is identified.
So at one of your prior conversations, you guys were just, spitballing ideas, and one of them was, the historic part, pull that out, right? And then, then you pull that hashed out, and then you've got the rest of, that area around School Street and out. I mean, it is still a significant portion of town that's in the growth area there, up to Old Cape Road, et
Can
cetera, et
you
cetera.
show the border of the growth area again?
It's everything. You see there?
Yeah, but it
Goes way up. Yeah.
ends somewhere.
I believe it's up through roughly here. So there's your border.
It's all the green.
Yeah, everything in green.
So,
So Old Cape Road is yours.
Okay.
okay, Maine, out to Marshall Point,
Yeah, Cape Porpoise
Yeah.
Square.
Cape Porpoise area,
Okay.
Lands End.
Where's-
Marshall Point's out here.
Yeah,
Right.
Where's
That's
Route
Mills
9
Road, that's Mills,
north?
oh, Marshall Point's.
Marshall Point.
Right, that's Marshall Point Road up there, yeah.
Where's Route 9 north?
Well, my arm didn't go that far.
Route 9 North, right there.
Right there, okay.
So, and then here's your historic.
Right.
So if you were to open the
Yeah,
comp
there's-
plan and take the historic out, that's that area right there.
Don't we have another one down here?
Yeah, there's the Cape Arundel,
Yeah, okay.
Paper on this.
which is down here.
So, yeah, that leaves a lot of buildable space.
And you wouldn't have to, well, you could still do some historic things, but then you wouldn't be doing the 4-to-1 on the.
So what's our objective?
To prevent as much development as possible.
And now, so, say, look at Elizabethan Drive.
It's the control, yeah.
How are people gonna get to their homes on
Well-
Elizabethan Drive if Ocean Avenue is like that?
That's a conversation that the community needs to start having
Yeah.
on what our
That's-
plans are.
That's exactly, I mean, so when you look at that, I mean, I can't imagine somebody looking at this saying, hey, we ought to drive more development down into that peninsula. Right?
Is this where
In
the
other
water,
words, if we knew this, back in, we were doing this in 2025, we wouldn't be saying, hey, let's drive more development here, because we're, 200 years from now, we'll get, certainly all flooded out. Right?
So I think so there's, when Galen asked the question with the objective here, you sort of are walking into a thought process. So your previous thought process was, hey, we've got some coastal flood areas, we're a coastal town, we've got some flood areas, we've got the growth, so we understand that. Now your next discussion that you just did an overlay on, which is, okay, I literally can't get to these other areas that aren't in the zone, but I can't physically get there. So that's actually another lens to use
Sure.
to look at this, to say, what of these areas make sense to truly grow in? Because so does that mean you've got to raise roads, or are you, so remember when, I don't remember if they came here, or if they came to the select board and they did the presentation of the 3 things you do, and one of them is retreat, right? So there are going to be areas, if it does come to fruition, that you would, the cost of doing certain things, people would retreat. There's already communities on the coast that have done that, right? So you're gonna have a combination of you build up, you retreat from some areas. So that may be something to look at. It may be something you guys wanna discuss or think about is, when you're getting your eyes on this, do you also now carve out certain areas that there would have to be significant work done on roadways to get to those areas, and that this area of the growth, like for example, this area of the growth, there's arteries coming in to get in and out, you're not rebuilding this area of the growth, you're gonna come into some internal conflict of how to actually get in and out, right? You're not gonna blow up, you're not gonna do eminent domain and
No.
So
blow
what
another
is
road.
in here now? In the middle, it's all happening.
Where at?
That one right there.
Yeah.
Patrick Dempsey's
That's
house.
Patrick Dempsey's property.
so is this the coastline and then Ocean Avenue is, I'm trying to see where Ocean Avenue is in relation to the orange and,
Ocean Avenue hugs around right here's Walker's
Right.
Point.
so, because obviously, Ocean Road is
Right here.
obviously a big draw,
Yeah,
and so,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a sense if,
so it's flooded.
So it's under.
It's under.
And Walker's Point is on it? Okay. Is that right?
Walker's Point will be its own little island.
yeah.
It'll
Yeah,
be an
really,
island.
would.
It'll be an island.
Wow.
Island.
So is this Ocean
Yeah.
Road,
Yes.
or is this the coast? Where,
Yeah, that's where you need the encyclopedia of words.
yes,
It's close, I mean, so, I'm looking at it saying, we certainly don't wanna drive growth down into.
No.
Right,
So
that's why I think we should still investigate whether or not we open the comp plan.
What
and
would we-
redirect where we put it, then the question becomes, I mean, the green area is where the infrastructure is.
It just
right?
means
It's
you
within-
have a
Within
smaller.
1,000 feet.
Well, it goes back to an earlier comment that you made about when you were defining the growth area, right? So when you guys were looking at growth, the parameters you used were, you know, this is 1,000 feet from municipality, right? Makes
Mm.
sense, because there's also the cost that other towns are burdened down where they're trying to build out their infrastructure and they just have to all stop all development now, right? So that was a smart approach, 1,000 feet, and that was the, you know, the funnel you used for this decision process. Now you're saying, as, you know,
That and the lot sizes that we had in place and all the rest,
Right.
right?
right. And now, as you've said in previous meetings, previous growth planning meetings, the state's used this definition and they've put another set of, they're using this for another game board, right? So
Right.
they took that game board off and put another game board on, and it's called density growth. And it happens to take this definition from this other game board and put it onto this one, on the density growth. So now, I think it is fair play to say, okay, given that definition of density growth, what makes sense, right? So, I don't think the state's going to say, hey, you guys are underwater, we're gonna have to build a bridge, you know, a bridge all the way around the outskirts so that we can get into all these areas where you just threw all this density. So maybe that is an approach that you guys wanna talk about is, you know, just like you said, you know, do we think about relooking and just, scaling down the growth area
Mhm.
where we think flooding would impact it? Because growth area becomes where we're going to be able to allow significant density growth, right? So
Right.
we have to be responsible on that density growth. What does that mean? Make sure that we're looking in that forward view of, you know, how many houses could go, and then also, can we get there, right?
Yeah, and the state's goal, which is an admirable goal, is to increase housing for the workforce,
Right.
right?
And so if we look at the larger picture, I mean, it's really further north, I guess that is where we might be able to build, you know, have more density without it being affected by the water issues.
So keep in mind that, you know, you're in your sewer in your growth area, you know, I know we're concerned about the 5,000 square foot lot size and 4 units. In the growth area where there's sewer and water, they also, it's still required that they have to hook up to sewer, and you have to have capacity. And as we know, we have less than 600 units possible. And then we're shut. We can't
Can't do it anymore.
hook any more up. So even if people want to develop, they're not going to be able to just develop. So I think we need to keep that in mind as well. Certainly if you change your growth area in this part, remember that even though sewer and water runs by, it's still a 10,000 square foot lot size.
Right.
Say that one again.
It's 10,000 square feet lot size for outside of your growth area, but you still have public water and sewer.
Yeah. So it still changes it.
Yeah, it's going to change.
It's gonna change.
Yeah.
Outside the growth area.
Correct.
So even if we said we didn't have any growth
Right.
areas, this whole area in green, minus 1,000 feet, right, would, off the sewer and water, how we extended it, right? So if we retract it just to where there was infrastructure, it could still be 10,000 square foot.
What could be 10,000 square foot?
The minimum lot size.
The minimum lot size would change. The state law has
'Cause that-
From,
40.
from
the 40,000.
mostly 40.
yeah. But that's, I mean, that's what it is, right? So I think, I guess that's what I'm,
The growth area would be, if it's in a growth area, it could be
It's 5.
5,000 square.
right.
4
Right.
units.
If it's
It's
not in the growth
outside.
area, but you have the infrastructure, it's
Sure.
10.
So it's having the.
So it's still
Oh, so your point is,
gonna grow.
oh, okay, so your point is, even if we open the comp plan and say this is no longer the growth area, it's in this floodplain and we're not gonna be able to it's showing that these roads are gonna be buried, we're physically not gonna be able to get to it. Your point is, it's it's already a much smaller zone, you, by, yeah. So that's an interesting thing to give the feedback to the state, is along with looking at allowing the towns to look at these 3.9 and the 2.0 and the 3.9 max, and allowing the towns to see where the roads will either cut off or impair, and be able to even block those out from any density growth and keep them to whatever the current town regulations are. That would be an ask to the
No,
state.
certainly, absolutely.
That
It's
should be
worth
an ask,
saying, but
an
I'm
ask
sure
to the
they'll-
state.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for the town to consider being proactive in planning, what is our plan and goal for the existing residents of town and the infrastructure that's going to be under. That's a conversation that you're all going to have.
Absolutely, right. I mean, if we're really gonna hit that in 100 years,
Right.
I mean, it's,
Well, we're looking at one portion of it right now, which is the river itself, right? So that's the river study. We know, can you show me, head of the harbor, Pear Road, by any chance? Is that easy or no? If it's not easy, don't bother.
It's right here. Right here. Come on. There you go. You're on island.
islands.
Well, head of the harbor's here, right? Head of the harbor's up there, right?
Well, but you can see, is
Yeah,
that,
so they're under.
Turns into
so we
4
just raised
islands.
that road, right?
No, we raised this. And we raised it to this level,
Okay.
so it was raised to the highest level.
But that was the next phase, right? Right
What's
there.
that?
That wasn't at the next phase, was near the head of the harbor.
That was the head of the harbor that we shelved,
Yeah.
because all the houses would be 5 feet below the road.
Oh, so, okay, to get down to.
So we got the study, we got the engineering study done, but we're not gonna raise the road 5 feet above the houses.
But it's also, and a lot of the, where the lobstering is done there at the end, right, a lot of that is gone, like where the
Yep, it's an
chowder
island.
house is, and the bait shack or whatever. I mean, all the work that was done there, is that going to be underwater? The bait house?
So
Well,
this
they
is,
did elevate it.
yeah, so this is, so again, this is if all this comes to fruition, right? So if all this comes to fruition, I think what you're getting a view on is there's gonna be areas that if this comes to fruition, there's areas in towns that are just pure retreat. And I think that's where I'm coming from, which is the ask back to the state, is if we're considering areas that potentially, if this comes to fruition, would be pure retreat, then, we don't want to be doing extra density in there, right?
And are people going to be coming here the same way they are now? I mean, this is the way it's going to be?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the topics of discussion when we were doing the growth plan was the fact that, I mean,
Dan, can you
northern
speak in the
states are
mic?
gonna be a place where people might head to, right? Because if you are having a climate change event, and it's getting warmer down in the southern areas, and you're losing water, I mean, who knows what's gonna drive, people are gonna move to where water is and where it's cooler.
So,
And they have the ability to work from home now.
right, but I think part of this, what this shows you is that if this comes to fruition, the town as we know it right now is not going to be the town that we know it. And I think for this exercise, we're trying to think through where should we in the town allow density growth? And if we're thinking that this is a reality at some point in the future, potential reality, the question on the table to the committee is, do you want to consider doing something to go back to the state, do our own stuff to try to block it out, go back to the state and ask them to consider letting towns block out areas if they don't think that they can physically access them anymore, and we just don't want to add more density.
Keep in mind too, another thing I think we're forgetting here that you're not seeing from a layer perspective. So this is where the hat will be. Shoreland zoning still applies. So the 250 feet from the high astronomical tide still applies. So that is still 40,000 square feet for lot size requirements. So even though the state makes changes, so you're seeing some of these areas in green here. They are in the 250 foot of the high water line, so they're going to have to comply with shoreland zoning purposes. So you're not going to see an increased density in this area of town because of the shoreland zoning provisions of your ordinances.
So we're already covered?
Yes.
Well, yeah, within
Yeah, how
250
far
feet, which
in?
is-
It's 250 feet from the high.
But like
water mark.
on that map, say, right where your thing
So
is, like,
if we look at the 1.5 and the 3.9, that's where the hat line is going to be. So you would go 250 feet from there in.
would that be like to that something farm lane? Like how far in would that go-ish?
Let me find my measuring tool on here.
What would be really cool is to see an overlay of all restrictions. So the water, the lot size, if it's already not a big enough lot, shoreland, so we could
Wetlands.
see, yeah, wetlands, so we could see actually where is permissible for these, for this expansion.
So right there is 300 feet
Where?
to Perkins Lane.
Where?
Oh, that's,
Right here,
right there.
Oh.
That's, so roughly
roughly,
that amount, all the way around.
all the
where
way
water
around,
is.
just go around.
Right.
So Land's End. But yeah, there's a lot of development constraints already that aren't on here. It's how busy do you want this to be? That's,
okay, maybe we can.
I can add wetlands,
cut
I
out
can do.
all of the development constraints and cut out the floodplain.
Add all the restrictions and then just show us what
What's left.
is available to be.
Okay, it's gonna take
develop.
some time.
Yeah, I mean, that might be,
Yeah. I just don't wanna make you
Not
think
right
that there's
now.
gonna be a doomsday scenario of all these people trying to get near the water and they still have to comply with shoreline zoning
So
provisions.
there's gonna be,
But
are people trying to get near the water? Is that
No,
what you said?
he said,
course,
you don't, he doesn't want you to think that there's a doomsday scenario of a lot of people trying to get through water because they already have shoreland restrictions in terms of lot size setbacks and stuff and what they can build. So you're not gonna get the density on Elm Street, you're not gonna get that on,
Pier Road, you're not
Pier
gonna
I
get
guess,
that.
yeah, I guess the question we'd have to ask is if they do go to the 3.9 as a limit, can we build our shoreline zone, future shoreline zoning off that to hold it? Right? Otherwise it doesn't apply
It eats into
today.
it.
Right.
Do we know when they're gonna make that decision?
You heard from the state when they came and talked to us, they're working on it.
Yeah, so it's probably not before we have to have things in place in June.
No.
So the advantage of, and we haven't, have you heard back from the state at all about any guidance on,
No.
because it's it's what do you think, and people, doing it to a 40,000 square foot, currently they have a perfect 40,000 square foot lot with a 5,000 square foot per unit, that means you could put 8 on there. Right? Eight dwelling units in some fashion, whether it's one building with 8 units or 8 separate buildings somehow, you could do it with your setbacks.
If they meet
But if it was
setbacks.
non-growth, it would be 4, right? Because it'd be 10,000 square foot lots in the 40,000, so it'd be half.
So we said we have 600,
And we have 600 left,
Yeah, less than 600, but
600 and,
capacity for sewer. First
so
come, first served.
so
right?
wait, let me, so 600 3 bedrooms, 600 2 bedrooms, 600, because I know sewer goes by bedrooms. Do we do an average, or how
I
do
thought
we?
they didn't go by bedrooms. They have different prices, but it's not like they go up by each bedroom unit. I thought if it's less than 3 bedrooms, it's this price, and
So you're saying that's just pricing, not a per unit capacity?
it's just dwelling unit. That's, they
Right.
look at
So
dwelling
it's
units.
600 plus or minus, so for example, if you have, we have capacity for 600 units, and we have 250 McMansions go in, or whatever, or multiple houses with 4 bedrooms each or whatever, higher than what we're normally building, or 600, so it's 600 plus or minus, I guess that's what I'm getting at,
Yeah,
Yeah.
depending on what gets built. Okay.
So what happens when we reach that? Are we then required to increase our sewer capacity?
So at that point, basically the wastewater treatment would say that if someone came and said, hey, I want to build another unit, we require as part of their building permit application that they have a confirmation from the wastewater department that they have capacity. And this has happened in Kennebunkport in the past where we did not have capacity. And so a letter was sent saying, we do not have capacity, you cannot hook up.
Okay,
So
so
they-
that would stop the growth.
Yep,
well,
But they
yeah,
have-
until the upgrades happen.
yeah, until upgrades happen, or they elect to put their own public sewer in, right? They can
Yep.
do that, so,
Their own public sewer? You
yeah. So
mean
they could have
it's-
their own system for 20
Se-
homes or something.
septic
That they have
tank.
designed that meets the state requirements.
It would be a licensed system with the state for,
Be licensed and all the
multiple.
rest, yeah.
but I don't believe the capacity, the bonus is given to them. It's a public sewer. They made sure that was abundantly clear
Okay.
in the legislation, the fixed cleanup bill.
I mean, that would be an expensive project.
Right.
Where do the sewer facilities relative to the climate change, where do they sit?
Some of them are in the floodplain, and I know Eric has been addressing a lot of that in climate resiliency efforts to elevate them to be above where the floodplain is. So he has a whole plan. He can go into great detail with it about his plan to elevate.
So those are the, like when he stands up and he'll give the board status of where we are in upgrading the pumping stations. So there's a number of pumping stations. You'll see them, some of the ones that have been upgraded have the nice white fencing around them now, like the one down by the fire station. But what about our wastewater treatment plant behind the school?
I don't think that's,
I think that's it's outside.
I think it's outside.
Yeah.
I didn't cross School Street yet.
So that would be, like, the main issue was our wastewater treatment plant, and that, that should be outside
That
the
would
flood.
comfortably
What
outside
I
the,
don't know is what the groundwater levels are. That's the other aspect of the sea level rise is groundwater rise as well, which can certainly cause more havoc on a sewer plant and its lines and all the rest.
Yeah, and if you have saltwater infiltration happening in
Yes, saltwater
septic tanks,
infiltration.
then they will have to be hooked up to sewer
Yeah,
at that point. So they're gonna be using, existing septic tanks are going to
yeah.
be using your capacity as well.
So what is the impact on groundwater in these scenarios where we're talking about? I mean, does the ground,
Yes.
I just recently realized that there's groundwater levels, and then there's like, so on our property, there's like a brook that comes through here, and then there's ground, and there's water at this level that doesn't flow down to the brook. It's a
It's
higher
groundwater.
level
Right.
than the flowing water, and I don't understand why it doesn't go down there, but it doesn't.
It'll
So,
get there.
what?
It'll get there underground. It'll get to the It works its way to the,
Yeah, but it's always higher than the brook. Because, so,
Yeah.
but and if we're having more rain and more flooding and all this sort of thing, I don't know what's gonna happen to this groundwater that's already quite high.
yeah, when we did the rewrite of the plan, that was one of the topics that we had a professor come in and talk about, the rising groundwater associated with rising sea level, because the sea level's pushing pressure on the earth. There's groundwater underneath the ocean. That's moving laterally and increasing the groundwater table.
So
And land.
there could be more impact than what we're
Yeah.
seeing here.
Sure,
When
absolutely.
you look at what the impact on.
Plus-
Yeah,
plus-
there's gonna
plus
be
the
people that have
saltwater.
septic tanks that are gonna fail when saltwater infiltrates and kills the bugs.
But also their houses will be flooded, even though it's not flooded by the seawater, it's flooded by the groundwater.
It could be, yep.
Absolutely.
Well, they'll all have sump pumps.
But where's the water gonna
Maybe
go?
not.
That there's some pumping out.
Goes onto the surface.
Just adds in.
But sometimes you can't, there's nowhere for it to go, right?
Yeah. So I think that's part of the, the general, so if this does come to fruition, there's much on coastal towns like ours with already high saturation levels, a lot of wetlands, granite ledge. There's many issues, right? So if this rising happens, then there's a whole slew of things. It's not,
Well,
You know,
there's a tremendous amount of costs that the town's gonna incur, likely will incur, right? To handle the roads and that are
well,
gonna be
there's also the
inundated.
part of, if this does come to fruition, there is that, and that's why when the consultants come in and talk to us, there's that essence of retreat. So there are going to be, if this comes to fruition, there's areas where they'll retreat, right? There won't be a cost
Well-
benefit. You can build a road, but if everything on both sides of the road is flooded, what are you building the road for?
True, but they'll end up with lots of stuff
So-
that don't have that no longer have access,
So
that are inland, right?
does it make sense to resubmit the letter that we submitted before? Because, that was essentially addressing the problems with coastal communities and maybe particularly Kennebunkport. Is this happening all along the coast? Are they talking about this in all the coastal communities in the same way that we are? Is everybody kind of spinning their wheels discussing this?
I think people are they're starting the conversation on the implementation and what the impact is going to be. I think Kennebunkport has been proactive in planning for infrastructure improvements. We've invested a significant amount of money in capital for the climate resiliency, taking advantage of funds that were available at the state to do improvements. And I think we're still going to do that. But I think it's going to be an ongoing conversation in coastal communities on what does emergency services look like in these areas that are going to experience more flooding or potentially underwater. What's the plan of action for those areas?
But I'm thinking relative to the density requirements that the state is asking us for. And it doesn't make sense. If we're dealing with coastal flooding and getting grants for various things, why add density to an already difficult situation?
Well,
Exactly.
again, I think there is provisions you can exempt certain land from increased density. And I think you can explore other options for these areas where there may be outside of the shoreland zone. But it requires a conversation as a community. What do you value and what do you want?
You mean, do you value
What's-
farm and forest? Do you push density to the farm and forest?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, I think you can certainly look at your zoning to determine how you want the town to look moving forward. That's the purpose of zoning. But you could, in the process, create nonconformities from that. And do you as a board want to create nonconformities?
What does that mean? What, exactly what are you saying?
It means that uses or the way what's currently there right now cannot continue forever. It's going to be zoned out. So are there areas of your community you can create, there is in land use planning, you can create conservation zones and the like, so you could do something like a coastal hazard zone, but there's no more single-family dwellings. Unless you're a lot of record,
So, for example.
No more
Paul
future?
was-
Or,
but that means that you're gonna phase them out eventually. That's the intent,
So that's the retreat
yes.
area. So
But that requires political capital, and I don't know
no.
if,
Yeah,
So that would be like, I think what you heard, if you listened to the last board meeting, you know, there was conversations about, you know, taking, right? So you're taking private property, you're taking the ability for private ownership to do what they want. And so, like Paul was telling me, down in Jersey, the town, a coastal town actually bought back houses on shoreland. And, you know, they did what Galen was saying, but they actually did it proactively. They actually basically took all this land and retreated and said, you know, if it stays a beach, great. If not, it goes to sea, right? If that's truly what is gonna happen. Galen's point is, you would take something like, you would take this area that's going in the flood, and you would say, this is all non-conforming area for single-family or any type of residence or any type of building. And then if somebody, you know.
they're allowed to exist.
They're allowed to exist.
They can't expand at that point. And eventually, you know, they will, if the house gets flooded or, you know, gets taken away, and it's not rebuilt within 5 years, then it loses its status. So that's,
and what's
Then
it's,
it becomes nothing.
it's
the
nothing.
bad side of doing this?
It's, you took somebody's property.
So they can't sell it.
I'd argue you can sell it. You can still keep the use. It's no different than the tides.
Yeah.
The tides is a non-conforming use. It's still existing as a hotel use.
right.
So you could sell it and then.
Could sell it and then-
You just
somebody-
can't build more houses.
And what about insurance, like?
That's still you.
Wait, if I had a house
Yep,
and it fell down in a flood.
Yep.
And it was in this non-conforming single family, no longer could build single-family homes or dwelling units, residential of any kind. It fell down in a flood and I didn't get back to build something, I passed my 5 years, what's the land worth?
so if it's a lot of record, it can still be built on, because you have a nonconformity section that protects you from,
Okay,
so that still is in effect, and we can certainly talk to the town solicitor about this. Because we currently do not have any zones that do not have single family as allowed by a right. That would be my interpretation, is because you have a nonconformity section, that single family is still allowed by right. You should be fine there. It's any new additional would be phased out.
I don't really see a benefit, I'm trying to think through what would be a benefit of that. Because if it becomes an area of retreat, it becomes an area of retreat.
Yep, you're phasing them out. I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
But at the same time, if somebody goes to buy a property, they can look at the map and make their own decision whether or not they want to buy a property
And
that's
they could
within
put it
the
up on stilts.
3.9, well, the road might be away, right? So there may or may not be a road to get there, you know.
these are all decisions that the town's going to have to make on,
Well, also a private owner, that's what I'm getting at, is it's a private owner that would be buying that parcel to say whether or not they wanted to, you know, make that decision of whether or not they wanted to purchase that property. So it goes back to what's the benefit, to Liz's question, what's the benefit of doing that?
benefit is you have less people building in areas that you know are going to be impacted by infrastructure and government services. So you're looking towards the future.
Yeah, no, I mean, I almost meant the opposite, like why not put that restriction in?
You might have litigation.
Yeah, I think I don't think that one's
And
gonna
would, does the
pass.
vote, would the town voters vote for those provisions to be put in? I don't,
No. Well, I
I don't
think the
have a-
board, I think this current board would have trouble with that. It'd be a hard one to get through.
By telling them that they can't expand on their current property, even when most likely it's gonna be halfway underwater in 24 years.
Again, there's
Yes.
people that may have kids and they think that they should build a house for their kids. What about their children? And that's the conversations of, you're telling me what I can and can't do with my
Right, and
property.
they can make a decision, because this isn't, we have to be careful here. This is this is a theory of what could happen.
Mm-hmm,
It's not, this isn't a done deal.
right.
So if it's a done deal, that's a different discussion. So it's a theory.
Mm.
And not only is it a theory, but it's a mapped out theory. So a person could make a educated decision on whether or not they wanted to build another house there, and whether or not they think it's going to flood out in 24 years. The information's all there. They would make that. To Galen's point, this is a way for the town to stop that development. I think that would be a hard thing to get across, because again, it's a theory.
Mhm.
And then therefore you are, in essence, I could see a legal battle coming, where in essence you are doing a taking. So I think we should look at, maybe potentially look at some other easier
Yeah.
means.
Could we take a, while we have this up, can we take a look at Goose Rocks as well? Right, because that has sewer and water, right? It has infrastructure.
It is a,
Are you sure you want to see it?
Oh, my God.
So where's Dyke Road? It's gone.
So you have a coastal bluff here. That's not impacted, another coastal bluff here, but everything else is impacted by stormwater and rising sea. There's dike.
Right, back
Well, and you can't get there. Dyke Road is flooded.
there. Right.
Correct.
and is New Bedford gone too? I would assume.
What is it?
New Bedford Road,
And New Bedford Road's up further.
yeah.
What are the hash marks again?
Flood zone?
Yeah,
The 100
right
year.
Yeah.
Is this a 26-year projection or further out?
So the teal color that you see there, that is the 2050. New Bedford Road's over here.
And that teal color goes into the lilac color?
It's hard to see the teal color.
So
It's
the,
just
you
the
see
whole
the orange dots. I mean, that's
green
It's
background.
behind the
That's the
orange
background.
dots.
Okay, so it is
Background's-
there.
Yeah, the orange is just the additional,
That's the 3.9.
Okay.
that's 2100.
And where was the New Bedford?
New Bedford is up to the, right
Ah, I
there.
got it, okay.
So it's
So
covered
Beaver Pond takes over. So right past New Binnacle Hill,
That's really depressing.
right past New Binnacle Hill is gone because of Beaver Pond and the stream that comes up. So that's why this is, again, this is part of that whole discussion of, all coastal towns up and down the coast, if this comes to fruition, will have everything like this. right? And so you can't expect the town to, you know, if the theory becomes reality, then there's parts that are in full retreat. Taxpayers will not be burdened with the cost of,
Yeah, we
Yes.
can't relocate those folks.
you know,
So you've mentioned a comprehensive plan. Do you feel that these issues are adequately addressed in the current comprehensive plan? I also am thinking that that plan was developed in a time when perhaps this wasn't discussed with this information at
Yeah.
hand.
Well, we had some of this information, right? So we were talking about sea level rise and that within the plan. We just didn't address and change the growth areas
Okay.
specifically. I think in general, we felt that any growth would be driven to the spaces like village parcel that are pretty open and so forth within the current growth plan and not, because there was no change in lot size. The lot size stayed the same. We still had our growth permit requirements. You didn't want to get so many, right? There was no limits or removal of limits. So there was a lot of things we had in place that we felt would safely cover us, and it kept us within our infrastructure, right? You know, out where we're all safe from here is if you go out to, you know, the farm and forest area and so forth, right? I mean, that's gonna have a little bit of impact, but from rains, but of course we have no infrastructure out there. So to have infrastructure out there, no developer's gonna come in and build you a sewer plant. The town would have to do that if we wanted to make that our growth area. But really, an LD 2003 came out, I think, just as we were finishing,
Yeah.
right? So we looked at it quickly, and we probably would have made some other changes, but it was, I mean, we were at the point where, you know, just dotting the i's and t's and putting some pictures in it and calling it good.
So is this a reasonable summary of where the committee is in thought? That the state is looking at, so we're already covered by the 100-foot floodplain, because that's already out of the density growth area. The state is actively working the 2 and 3.9, and the committee would wait to see the state take action first before doing anything, with the hopes that they would do something. And we know that there's a 250-foot setback for shoreland, and that has its own zoning restrictions. That you've seen enough of the 3.9, what it can do to all coastal areas of our town. And so you know, that hopefully will be covered by the state. So I think the choice on the table is, in the growth area itself right now, is there anything besides what was on the docket for discussing the historical zone? Is there anything you see here from the floodplain maps and knowing what the state is proposing to do? They haven't done it yet, but if it does go through, is there anything else you would want to do, or any reason you would open the comp plan to do something?
I'd still like to be able to see if we can make a change to the growth area. Right, that would cut down, would give us more control over growth. Instead of having every parcel that's not impacted by these available to the 4 units or the 5,000 square foot lots, that we push that into where it makes more sense.
And so that is beyond your head is going beyond of where the flood lines are. This is an addition.
That's what, everything that's left over that's not impacted by the flood lines. In the 250 feet for shoreline zone, it'd be wonderful if they would include that as areas to pull out of that based on the 100-year flood marker, right?
Well, that will be.
That will be.
So don't
But
we
I mean-
Shoreline zone still applies even if you're in the growth area.
Sure, but I mean, today,
Yeah.
if we can apply the 250 feet at what it will be
Oh,
at
at the
100,
3.9, yeah.
right? Otherwise, it's just, it's available like, today, right? Because it's not inside the shoreline zone. So until it's inside the shoreline zone, which is 250 feet from the coastal, we can't exclude it because of that. If they allowed us to, then that makes it a little bit smaller, right?
Right.
So in order to redefine the growth
There.
area, we would have to go into the comprehensive plan.
We'd have to make a modification to the comp plan. The question is, how big of a modification do we have to make? Because it was approved in 2022, now we're 4 years, we're almost halfway through. It's probably bigger than we want to make. But we could also give it a shot and say, hey, this is what we want to change, boom.
Does it need to be changed, the comprehensive plan? Is the concern, is it possible to be addressed by a change to the regulations?
Well, the
Opposed to
regulation, but
Reopening the comprehensive
yeah,
plan?
the problem, we have no control over that.
Well, I mean, put a ballot measure forward? I'm just
No, we
wondering.
can't trump state law.
We can't trump state law. It's-
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
The state's made it clear that we have to
right.
comply with
They
these
wouldn't,
requirements.
they told us they're not gonna exclude us. Right.
But can we change the growth area with a ballot measure?
We would have to make a change to our comp plan, and that would have to go before the voters.
Okay, you can't
Yeah.
just change it.
You can't just change it, no, and then that would, then also then go to the state. If we wanna have approval. That's the question, we don't necessarily need approval.
So
Decide- It would give up grant money, but or grant opportunity for grant money, right? We don't necessarily need their approval.
So if you opened up, we're gonna go through the work and open up the comp plan to change the growth area, would you take out the historic district
Right. Take out?
out of the growth area?
Like
Oh, yeah,
exclude
yeah,
it
yeah, oh,
from,
for sure, yeah,
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 Okay.
absolutely.
and,
I would take
and
out
more.
Dock Square, or take out, I think we would make it fairly small. right?
Yeah.
And really focus it towards what the state wants to achieve, in my opinion. Try to focus it towards state workforce housing opportunities. right?
Instead of little
Yeah,
$1 million
that's what the state's trying
condos?
to, that's what the state says they want to do. And that'd be the thing, hey, this is what we want to try to do. Right? We'd like to have the people that work in our town be able to live in our town.
So what do you see as the timeline for something like this? Or is it a couple of years out by the time this is? All these levels
I would
of
like to
that.
do it before the June of 2026, right?
It's ambitious.
Or 27. I mean, that's when we have to have things in place. you know.
So I was just wondering, is there going to be a motion to this effect? Or are we gonna have another meeting to discuss this?
I think you would wanna go and I would maybe, because it's a lot of work,
It is a lot of work.
I think I would bring either Dan or, bring it to the board, because you wouldn't want to open the comp plan and then have the board say, nah, we're not going to vote to go forward on ballot. So because when we had the joint meeting, the board was interested in the overlays that we just went through. So I think maybe not to the extent that we went through tonight, but the summary of, okay, this is what this did, but here's really what we want to do is, here's the historic district, and here's the ABCs that we want to reopen the comp plan, we want to reduce the growth area, here's the focus area we want for growth. Knowing now what the state does is going, change the game board on what growth means. And it's an interesting thing because
I mean, my proposal would be change the growth map. Period.
yeah,
In the plan. We decide this is no longer the growth map, here's the growth map. That's what changes in the plan. There may have to be a couple of tweaks, but I wouldn't get into any other changes. I wouldn't offer up any other changes. Let them come back and say, no, if you're gonna do that change, we need you to
So your proposal is to redefine the growth area map,
Yes.
and that's it, just this one sentence, and that's how you.
Well, the map, we changed the map, what we think the
Yeah.
growth area map is. And then, but that's in our comp plan.
And so that would
And
be
there-
the direction we'd be
Right.
heading as
And there may
a
be
board.
some tables that need to change that might reflect. And I'd have to look into that.
Okay.
I think the 600 number is interesting too. I don't know what to do with that.
600 number being the, for the
Households?
sewer?
Yeah.
Closer to the mic, 'cause I
I-
don't particularly hear you all night.
I'm so sorry. Okay. This, you're referring to the sewer
Yeah,
with the 600.
yeah.
But we know that's the most, I mean, theoretically, that's the most units, dwelling units we could add in town to our current growth area. And transitional areas that are on city sewer and water. Because there are some areas in that, like, for instance, Goose Rocks.
And
And those areas can be down to 10,000 square foot lots.
Yeah,
Right?
and so I'm getting lost in, the fix-it bill. Do we still have a limit on? Do we or do we not, are we able to limit the amount of growth permits?
Yes, you can.
So we can still cadence out that we don't trip 600 units, and I'm just saying it, year one, right? Somebody doesn't come in and develop the village parcel and put in 600 units, and we just tripped over our, that ate up our capacity at the sewer. That we can keep our current, what are we at, 42, 41 growth
40.
permits? 40 growth permits, and
20 have to be in the growth area.
20 have to be in the growth area. And so that still remains?
Yep. There's a little bit of a difference in the multiplier effect. Instead of, I think it's 105%, it's 110%, but it's not a huge difference.
Were there things they excluded?
They excluded affordable housing completely from getting growth permits.
And ADUs.
And yeah, ADUs have
But
always
that's
been.
always been.
The other thing is, the bill also made provisions about the, what's it called, blanking on the, if a developer has a project that's approved by a planning board, they cannot be restricted from getting a third of your growth permits in that growth area. The theory being that they should be able to complete their project hopefully in 3 years. So we have to be able to give them that ability, but so it's a third of the total that are in that,
So
area.
in the growth area, it'd be
Yes.
a third of 20.
yeah.
So if it came in, they had a
So
60
7.
unit build, they gotta get 20 a year.
7 a year,
Oh, they gotta,
yeah, at least 7. You can't restrict them by a third of whatever's in your growth cap.
yeah,
You can't restrict them to more than a third, so they
Oh.
have to be able to get a third of those growth
a
permits.
third of those growth
Yes.
permits, okay. I was thinking of
Yep, sorry, yeah.
the ability to build this place in three
No.
years, so we'd have to give them 20.
No,
permits.
it still stays in, but it's
Yeah.
a weird nuance that we have to address.
So 1829 allowed us to keep our growth permits. Plus the-
1829 took them away, and then 2173 put them back in. That's what happened.
2173 came first.
No, 1829 came first, and then 2173 came in. Because 2173 was the fix-it bill.
Oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
the other way around.
No.
Galen, what's the cost of, once we've exhausted 600, the infrastructure costs that would be incurred by the town?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That would be an Eric question.
yeah, that's.
It's orders of magnitude, though, it's millions of dollars.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
multiple,
Yeah.
multiple
Yeah.
tens of millions.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah, you're talking.
And is there any
about-
way that would be allocated across all taxpayers, or?
Normally, they're an enterprise fund, so they would get a bond to pay it back through users. That's usually how it goes. I know the town does offer some help for the wastewater department through the general fund, but most of it's through your user rates.
Okay.
Back to Mary Beth's question about 600. That is a ambiguous number because a mega mansion that can have a family of 10 or 8 realistically or something is one unit, as is a one-bedroom apartment is one unit. So, I mean, it could be 600 times 8 for the number of people.
Yeah, again, they did an analysis, which I think we did send that to the growth planning committee. I think you all got a copy of it. And so it explains their methodology, how the engineers came up with that number. There was 2 numbers. One is the suspended solids, and the other one is, how much they can take in for effluent. So that's how they came up with the calculation. You all have that report.
This is an average.
Yeah.
So I think
So
that's,
it could
that's
be more.
also, I think, so that's also assuming the concept, because I'm just remembering back to that report, that's assuming the concept of, that was done, so if I'm doing the engineering problem, the assumptions were made about the capacity and the 2 items that Galen just mentioned. It didn't also assume the other environmental things that are going on, the rising. So if this is true, right, if the theory is true about the rising tide and then the normal table water rise, those are 2 things. The normal table water rise also is a factor into your sewage treatment plant. So, that's another thing that could cut down on the 600. So I look at the 600 as an approximate, right?
Yeah.
Roughly plus or minus a couple hundred.
They'll have to do another study years from now just
Yeah.
to see what their capacity is, but that costs money to do that.
I think there's enough there, to consider what Dan proposed in terms of, what we are, the reasons why we wrote the letters up to the state to try to consider 2 items, which was we're a coastal community. We've got, sort of a hard stop called the sea, high water tables, granite, and we also are a small town. And so we were looking for a get out of Dodge card, for both of those. And we also don't have main arteries coming into our town. We don't have roads, we don't have the ability to widen roads and blah, blah, blah to take on more traffic. So, all that plays into the little coastal town. Versus like what they did in Scarborough. You come off the expressway, you got big open land, you put in a big development, you create lanes and roads and sub-roads and sub-sub-roads, and you put in new utilities. So I think if you're looking at, okay, what levers do we have? I think the only thing we have left, because the state basically said no to us, not basically, they did say no. I think it's what Dan was saying, was, okay, what do you do now? Well, then you go back and to our part of the equation, you significantly reduce the growth area. And then that limits, to Galen's point, you're still going to be 10,000 square feet, but it limits, the 4 to 1. So you are potentially getting people to pay attention to areas where there's better land use for multiple homes. To Dan's point, maybe it'll actually yield workforce housing.
Yeah.
Instead of, going into the port and making these condos that overlook water. You know, maybe we're getting to the realization that that's really our only lever left.
Yeah. I say we
But I think what we can work
go
on.
for it.
Yeah. It also wouldn't hurt us to have, is to talk about the historical districts now, right, as well.
Excuse me?
Historical districts as well,
Yes.
right, and have that in case this other piece falls apart.
Well, the thing of it is, I mean, if you're gonna open the growth plan, part of the density growth that negatively impacts our town is the losing the look and feel of the port. And so if I'm in front of the state arguing why our historic district should be out of the growth area, my argument would be, you get a lot of sales tax money from us, from people coming to visit our historical area and our port. So, you know, keep our port area center out of growth, let us remain it the way it is, and keep our look and feel of Lord Mansion and every other place, you know, that people want to drive around and look at these homes, because it helps the state in that way too for revenue.
Yeah.
That would be my argument.
Yeah, and then we need to not, I don't know tonight or not, but look at what does the historic district actually mean, which is the next thing on the agenda, so I don't want to go there right now, but
That's a great segue. You want to talk about the historic districts?
Yeah, we probably could have an introduction, we're getting kind of close to our witching hour. But yeah, so our next on the agenda is discuss historic design language, based on our review of the Kennebunk, Kittery, and York information.
So I'm going to hand this over to Nadia.
Okay?
So here is our little spreadsheet that we have. It's completely empty because it's here to be filled out by the committee through the meetings. So this is kind of the criteria that we wanted you guys to look at the design standards with tonight as we review and as we probably will bleed into the next meeting.
Sure.
So we want to kind of two major segments: what you guys like about the design standards that we sent, and what you don't like about the design standards that we sent. And there are a couple of different standard types that we've identified within the larger documents. So we want to look at architecture standards, landscaping standards, accessory structure standards, and site layout standards. If there's any other standard groups that you have seen reviewing the documents, let me know. I'm happy to add those in. But those were kind of the four big things that we saw as issues. So architectural standards would be things like roof pitch, materials, siding, color, all of that stuff would fall under architectural standards. Landscape standards would be what plantings are allowed, just landscaping. Accessory structures, I was thinking of accessory structures as being more like decks or pools or things like that. Something like an ADU would be subject to the architectural standards, so it doesn't really need its own review set in that way. So when you're thinking accessory structure, what I was envisioning was something like a pool that isn't really landscaping but still should have some kind of criteria. And then site layout standards would be, you know, is there a different type of setback that's needed or something like that in those criteria as well. So did people have a chance to review the historic design standards from the other towns?
Yes.
Yes.
yes, but not with these
Right.
in mind.
Well, I looked at the three towns over the period of time, but it seems like the way Kennebunk approached it, from my perspective, was more similar to the way we should approach it. I mean, they really went into the the specific homes and, looked at them from their, the architecture of the time that they were built and all that sort of thing. They seemed to me, were much more focused on the homes, whereas I think both in Kittery and York, they were mostly talking about businesses. And maybe I didn't read through all of it, but the homes were almost an afterthought. And I think what we're interested in here more is preserving the character of the homes, and also maybe, we can think about the Dock Square area. But I like the idea of what Kennebunk does in there, unlike Summer Street, they maintain those beautiful homes, and I think that type of thing would be beneficial in Kennebunkport as well.
I agree with you. I think that one of the things with Kennebunk is that it promotes a sense of community and close involvement so that you can actually walk and enjoy some of the businesses. And I think that that's an attraction in Kennebunkport. So I'm very familiar with Kittery and York. I think that Kennebunk is more close to, and you mentioned like a coastal town feel. So, but I haven't set up this chart, so thank you for the chart.
I was actually the opposite. I didn't like Kennebunk's. I thought it was incredibly restrictive, even down to you're gonna do any maintenance, even if it's like for like. Like I'm taking that, I've lost a shingle here, I'm gonna put another shingle up. You had to go fill out a form and go to the town and get approval. So they were my bottom choice. I think it was Kittery was the one that was, these are all just ideas, and we hope you follow them. So there wasn't any teeth. I thought York's was a little more the middle of the road, right? Where they, if you had maintenance you're gonna do, and they described it, what like for like was, that you didn't have to fill out the form and go get approval. You could just fix your issue and do your maintenance. And then they had a little bit more, I think their focus was a little bit on the architecture outside and not so much, I mean, I skimmed it somewhat quickly, but not so much on the plantings and so forth. So I probably would have something, if I were writing one myself, it'd be closer to Kittery's, but maybe even less restrictive.
Well, I guess
So-
my perspective as I was reading and looking at these was the overall picture. I wasn't getting so much into the color of the front door or anything along those lines. I was really trying to get a sense of what the direction of the town was in terms of activities, really more, and what was inviting. What's so nice about the Summer Street is that it's such an activity for Halloween, and it's such a draw, and people enjoy it. But I agree with you. I think that over-involvement beyond, is just not acceptable to a community-oriented atmosphere.
Yeah.
So remember, this would be, so what would this historic district guideline be used for? So if we open the comp plan and we agree that the historic district is not going to be in the growth area, the lot sizes still go down to 10,000. So we still have some, big homes coming down and maybe 2 homes or 3 homes going up.
Yeah, depends on the lot.
It depends on the lot, so, we're not going to be able to do, like if I use your example of Summer Street, with the density state laws, we're not going to be able to necessarily save the homes, right? What we're trying to do is when somebody tears one down and rebuilds, we're trying to get that look and feel. So I think when you go back to what you heard the rest of the board talk about, I would summarize it was, it's trying to get that architectural look and feel, right? So you want pitch roofs, you know, you want, I'm just making stuff up. You want clapboards, you know, whether they're plastic or not. You know, you're not gonna be able to, because remember, this is gonna be, this always has to be a very forward-looking thing. So you're gonna have to play with whatever materials they're building with. So maybe you try to have some kind of siding feel, or, you know, or whatever your things are, you know, you want windows that have, you know, that aren't
Yeah.
pure glasses, or, you know, whatever the standards are, but I think it's that, it's trying to define the look and feel so that when that big historic house goes down, the stuff that comes back in place gives you the sense of
Yeah.
the port.
Just trying to
so-
preserve the aesthetic of history, of
But
the
that-
history here.
That
Without
big
the
home
houses
that
being
is
there.
built there could have like 3 different units in it, rather than being a single-family home. But on the outside, it would almost look like a single-family home to retain the
Right.
character of the
Yeah.
area.
Right, so if I look at, like, for example, going down to the beach at Goose Rocks, right? So not to pick on the homes, but, you know, the 2 flat roofs went in, very California-looking houses, and then the flat roof ordinance went in where no more flat roofs there, you know, and I think that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get away from, trying to come up with a way maybe where you don't take a historic old down and put up a modern. You know, if that's not the committee's desire, you know, then what are those nuances to, you know, not over-regulate, but to regulate just enough so
Right.
that you get in, you know, that more historic look.
Take a photo of every lot and say it needs to look like that. If you can divide it into 2 separate homes and still gives you that same feel, whatever the roof pitches were and the siding, I mean, that'd be one way. I think we would have to consider some of the landscape, right? You don't want someone to go in that's got some beautiful trees and cut them down to put in
Right.
4 homes, right?
Right.
You want to keep some of that beauty and shade tree. I'm sure we get the shade tree committee to support us, right? To maintain that look of that area, that streetscape.
Well, I think that's something we're gonna have to find out whether or not, you know, that's an interesting question. If I got
What?
a maple tree
What's the
there,
question?
can I take the maple tree down, you know, or does the maple tree prevent? I don't know where the state comes, do we know any idea of where the state would come out on that?
Well, isn't there something about taking down trees already?
Only in the shoreland zone.
Oh, that's only in the shore.
But there's a society that, or a committee that protects.
But we have,
farms.
those are only tag trees, and
Yeah.
those mostly are, majority of them are on town property. There's some on private property, but majority are in town.
So it's only in the shoreland zone where if you cut down like a large tree, you have to put another tree in there that's like 3 or 4 inches in diameter, is that?
Yeah, it all depends on the proximity to the water line. So if it's within 75 feet of the high water line, it has to be replaced tree for tree. And then if it's outside the 75 feet but within the 250, you can reduce the canopy by 40% without replanting. So that is something that is allowed in the shoreland zone. So it all depends on your proximity.
Yeah.
Well, in Kennebunk, they appeared to, I was looking at it just not too long ago, they go into quite a bit of detail about plantings.
They do.
And I guess if we were to do something like this, there would be a group of people that, you know, a committee of some sort that would talk about it, and I don't know.
Yeah, Kennebunkport had a whole committee that met twice a month,
To set up that.
just to deal with, well, every time you have.
Kennebunk says for plantings, mature plantings have the same historic value as the buildings they surround. Like historic buildings, plantings require maintenance and care to survive. The same care and attention given to historic buildings should be given to historic landscapes. Retain existing trees and plants that help define the character of the building and the district.
So I
Right.
would say that we've already got the tree thing covered with the shade, you know, with the tag
Yeah.
trees in town. So I think we're there. You know, I look at what Kennebunk did as a different, they were trying to achieve a different goal than what we are. They were actually basically preserving
I think the individual homes.
Summer Street and preserving these homes. This would be to, again, go back and say, how do we ensure the look and feel, right? And I think that's two separate things. And I think, again, I'll give you the guidance from the board was, you know, yes, that sounds like a great idea. But if you're gonna start diving into plantings, I think we're boiling the ocean versus, and we're on a timeline, right? Because you gotta sort of match up with the June of '27.
But these property owners seem to have a sense already of what looks good with their property. I mean, the landscaping is really pretty.
But that's not to say future property owners will.
No, it's true. Yeah. But I think that the ones that are in the historic area seem to have,
But in Kennebunkport, you're
in
talking?
Kennebunkport,
Oh, yeah,
Seem to
it's
have it.
beautiful. We just need to keep it that way.
right?
I mean, we could do the picture, take a picture of every home, and this is what it looked like today, and we'll have a committee that looks at it and says, whatever you're doing, it's gotta have that same look and feel, whatever that may be. It's hard to describe what that same look and feel is, right? We can talk about the architectural and, you know, if it's no flat roofs, right? You could put a couple of things in there, but
I mean,
if the peak is like this and you're gonna make it like this, what's, to me, it's still the same look, right? You got a
Yeah.
peak.
It depends on what the historic character was. Maybe when that house was built, they had the houses like this and not like this, you know, the roofs like that.
Yeah,
But
that's-
they also talked about like swimming pools here in Kennebunk, they have to be put in the backyard. So you can't put your swimming pool in the front yard because of the, what?
Whoever put a swimming pool in the front yard?
Well, that was the
You
only
never
place you had
know.
for it.
Yeah, I know, but
People
still,
are
who, come on. I would bet you 99.5% of all swimming
Would
pools
you
are
have
in the
thought that
backyard.
someone would put a square flat roof house in Goose Rocks? No.
Yes.
I mean, so I'm conflicted because I live in one of the, so
you're
I'm just
a representative.
listening a little bit, but, I do think there are a lot of the, so I'm conflicted because I'm trying to preserve a home, and I think a lot of my neighbors are consistent with the time period in which it was built, and so I live in a federal house, and so we try to do things that are not gonna change that a great deal, so but I also don't relish the idea of someone telling me like,
What to do?
yeah, so there's a conflict in there that,
I guess,
I'm not sure how to navigate, but I think it's like
It's
the,
not
this,
what to do, it's what not to do. Like,
fair enough.
we'd ask maybe that you don't paint your house bubblegum pink. Or,
Chartreuse,
what?
chartreuse.
Yeah, or, you know, I can't think of examples, but it's not like what you were saying, like if you lose a few shingles in a storm, you have to go get a permit to replace them
Yeah,
exactly, you know, that's ridiculous.
So in Kennebunk, they seem to do that,
They did.
yes.
So I had the same
So
sort of
I
reaction
think
that Dan
we
had.
want some sort of middle ground of preserving the look and feel and whatever historic period these houses were built in, preserving that, because that's gonna preserve the tourism, the tourists to still come to a quaint little coastal town.
So let me build on what Dan was, let me build on what I think you guys might be heading towards. So for example, there's a federal style building, right? Because our port is made up of, if I'm going up and down the streets, our port is made up of multiple types of different period homes. So if I say, okay, your lot is a federalist style building, you can put 4 homes there, but they all have to be Federalist style type buildings. They can have modern materials, but they should have, you know, the federal little things over the windows and the little, you know, to give you that look and feel of what it was.
I don't
Does it
think you can
say-
have 4 little buildings look like a Federalist
Yeah.
style home.
I would say
No,
if the house is so bad, like needs to be torn down structurally, just isn't safe, you can tear it down, but you build that federal structure the way it was with 4 livable units inside it.
So-
4 apartments, say.
So, but I don't know, so that's where we would have to go back and get some kind of legal opinion, because the state trumps, right? So we are potentially gonna open up our comp plan and take out the historic district. Okay. But, to Galen's point, we're no longer in the growth area, but we are still, per the density growth, there's going to be allowed more than 1 building. So now the state's telling the builder or the new owner, you can have legally more than 1 building because you have the property size to do that, because we took the lot size down to 10,000 instead of 40,000.
Even historic districts,
So-
legit historic
I
districts?
think is,
So I think we need to clarify, the state does say that you do have to allow the certain density that's allowed in those growth areas or outside the growth areas. The state did not dictate dimensional standards, so you could imply, because the justification is historic district, that you can build, if you tear down the federal style building and rebuild, you can require that they are, all 4 units are in one structure, if it's gonna be a dimensional standard for the town. So you can do that. The state didn't prohibit the town from home rule authority to create dimensional standards to protect the look and feel of what they wanted for the town. We just have to provide justification,
And our justification would be a historical district.
yes.
Okay.
And we brought that up at the workshop meeting, and Tracy Gear even agreed, like that was, it is something that we can do.
Okay.
how does that sound to, you think you and your neighbors would feel if they had that kind of requirement?
The question I asked the board is, what do you think about an ADU?
An ADU?
Yes.
Well, an internal.
Should it be detached or should it be attached?
It has to be allowed at all?
Yes.
Yeah,
You have to allow it.
Attached.
that's allowed it.
So that's the question, you have to ask, like, how you want design standards to look, for the community.
So in Kennebunk, if you put an addition on a house,
Mhm.
it has to look, it has to have the same architectural style, and it also has to be obviously a separate addition. It has to, they describe how it has to be in here, so that you can add something onto it. You could add an ADU, say, onto the building, right? But it has to be obviously an addition, I guess, is sort of.
So that's guidance that we need from you all, is like,
Yeah.
what do you want from, do you want attached, detached? You don't need to make a decision tonight, but think
Yeah.
about,
And does it matter? I mean, it could be like a carriage house or something. I mean, might work as in.
same thing goes for any new garage or anything else, like
Right.
any new structure. Do you want it attached, detached?
Well, I don't know if it matters, if you wanted to have like a garage and have it be a carriage house design, it would be detached, right? I mean, just as long as you
Yeah.
retain the character?
There are examples of that on Main Street, and where they've added the ADU, but they've made it a combined use of the garage and then stairs. And actually, there's quite a few. That seems to be the way of doing it. And I tend to think that there does seem to be an interest in having a distance from your neighbor on your own lot, so that they want that ADU to be separate from their
Yeah.
building. That seems to be the interest.
so I can share to the committee the kind of parameters that we
Yep.
came up with to review these standards with. I'll share them out in some convenient way for people to kind of type in and
Okay.
and
Yeah,
put their
that would be
opinions in,
awesome.
and then we
Yeah.
can, you know,
Like a
Galen and I can,
worksheet type of
Right.
thing, like what are the things we want to look at
and then Galen and I can work together to compile that into a meaningful spreadsheet that people
Okay.
can see kind of where we landed on those issues.
Sounds good.
Wow,
that'd be great.
great,
All right.
thank you.
That was a pretty efficient use of our 2 hours.
Yes.
Covered a lot of topics.
Yeah.
So, next meeting is, what's today? Today is the 7th, so it's gotta be the 21st.
21st.
Yeah, I won't be at that one.
You won't be here. How's the 21st look for others?
Eh,
Good?
not good.
Not good?
I think it's fine for me.
Fine for you?
I think I can do it.
Think you can do it? Is there another Tuesday that works?
We could do the 28th.
The 28th?
That's the next
Does that work?
Tuesday in,
Yeah.
But that would be back-to-back meetings then for July and August.
that's true.
Let's see where the 21st lands. Right.
That would be good.
Check with Paul and Tom and see if we're on there, folks.
Do we know now what might be on that agenda?
This, we just talked about, historic districts?
The historic
and-
district
and
stuff,
we sh-
yeah.
Hopefully, not quite sure what to do with the comp plan piece.
I think you
We've
would-
already requested the state's
I think you would,
information.
I think if you took a vote with your committee, and then I would maybe then come back to, you show up to the board and just, I don't think we need a joint meeting, but I would just come to the board and say, okay, we did what you asked us, we did the overlay with Galen and Nadia, and, this is what it looks like, but here's, the bigger issue is, we think we just need to bite the bullet and open the comp plan and give you reasons why. And say, this is what the committee would like to do, and get guidance from the board. Because I would hate to have the committee go and start down that path, without.
True, but I also don't want to go down that path if it turns out we've got to redo the whole plan, right? So unfortunately, not hearing back from the state's a little bit of I think a roadblock.
When do we think we'll hear back from the state on whether or not we'd have to redo the whole plan?
I think he asked like 3 weeks, 4 months ago.
Keep asking them. I don't know what- yeah.
Can we get legal, do we have legal guidance on what they think?
I could talk to the town manager if we can,
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we could say, hey, this is the only thing we want to change,
yeah.
right? And then whatever, I could do a review of the plan to see if there are other words that would have to be changed within a section or two.
Personally, I'd like to get the 460 pages down to about 5 or 6, but that's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
Then I think the public would actually know what was in the comp plan, but that's just me.
So do we have to make a motion of some sort? Or no?
I think if you're waiting, I think my guidance would be before you go down the path of the opening the comp plan and putting your time into that.
Yeah.
I would just, when you're ready
Yeah.
to go there, if you're waiting to hear back from the state, my guidance would be just come to a board meeting before that, lay it out in front, get the select board members to weigh in and nod, and then go on your merry way, because I just don't want, that's a big amount of work to do. I want to make sure that the full select board's behind.
Well, I'm hoping to make it a very little amount of work.
Yes,
Should-
but it's a process,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Should we vote that if the board agrees with Dan when he presents, that then we proceed? Like, might you talk to them within the next 2 weeks?
I think you want to take a vote that you feel that you need to open the comp plan, that's your logical next step. I think the board needs to know that the committee voted that this is what you
All
truly
right,
believe
I'll
is
make a
the next
motion
step.
that we
Into the mic.
I make a motion we consider that opening the comp plan to modify the growth map, if that can be done.
And take out the historic area? Did you want to address that?
Growth map, one will be the remove of the historical district areas. but others to more narrowly focus where the town can support growth through to, you know, through to 2100 and beyond,
Okay.
based on its current infrastructure. And barring that it's not a complete, or even a significant, requiring a significant rewrite of the town plan.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Is that a motion?
That's a
or-
motion, it's kind of a
Okay.
motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll have to watch what I said, kind of write it down.
Yes. That's okay, you gave it gist.
Yeah, I get the gist.
Don't,
All right,
don't
so I
forget
need
to
a- I need a
adjourn.
motion to-
Thank you very much.
Need a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. We're-
Thank you, Mike.